The safety of women and girls needs to be a priority for all across the country. It's not a woman's issue, it's a human issue. The deaths of Sarah Everard, Aisling Murphy, Sabina Nessa and many others reignited a national conversation about the safety of women and girls. Because Sarah Everard was just walking home. Because Aisling Murphy was just going for a run. Because Sabina Nessa was just walking through the park to meet a friend. The death of Sarah Everard rocked the nation, yet in 28 weeks after her death, at least 81 other UK women were killed by men. 177 women were murdered in England and Wales between April 2020 and April 2021. 92% of those 177 women were killed by a man. By working together as a community, I do believe that we can address the disproportionality in crimes that affect women and girls. By working together, we can have much more influence on changing those negative cultures and behaviours. Excuse me. As you can see, I'm really passionate about my subject, but nerves will get the better of me, so I do apologise. Unwanted sexual behaviour has become so normalised for women that it is often expected regardless of what we are wearing or what we are doing. Many women in my line of work have told me that they don't report sexual harassment and abuse for the fear that they won't be believed. The grim truth is that we have been conditioned to blame women for the acts of violent men. Did you know the second most Googled question about Sabina Nessa's death was what was she wearing? What was she wearing? Why do people think it's okay to question what a victim looks like? She was walking through the park to meet a friend. So it appears when women are murdered that people have something to say about it. Not the assault, not the kidnap, not the murder, but what she was wearing. As I grew into adolescence, I was given plenty of advice, especially as I went out and started to have my own social life. In fact, my parents are in the audience with me today, and some of that advice I recall well. Emma, don't walk home on your own. Emma, how are you getting home? Don't walk through the park on your own. Don't walk anywhere in the dark. Do these words sound familiar? I don't recall them having the same conversations with my brother. Why do we put the onus on women to be safe? Maybe it's because Sarah Everard was just walking home, because Aisling Murphy was just going for a run, because Sabina Nessa was just walking to meet a friend, and because in 1994 I was also just walking through a car park in the dark to get home. At the age of 17, I was sexually assaulted. Do you know what I recall the most about that? Not the physical assault. I've dealt with that trauma, but the fact that I wasn't necessarily believed. Now, my dad sat in the audience with me today and he came with me to court. And we had a horrendous journey getting there. And I'll make it short, but some of those words were, how much had you had to drink? How short was your skirt? And why did you walk through that car park in the dark alone? And when we got to court, when we got to trial, the Crown Prosecution Service came to visit my dad and I in the witness room and gave my father some words of advice. Not me as the victim, but my dad. There's no tangible evidence for this offence. There's no forensics. There's no CCTV. There's no independent witnesses. It's your daughter's word against his. I'd cut your losses and I'd take her home. We shouldn't have to carry flats in our bag. just in case we need to run on the way home. We shouldn't have to pretend to be on the phone as we walk home in the dark. And we should be able to look forward and not over our shoulders. Now, what women are feeling isn't new. It's been perpetuated for generations. But how do we break the cycle? It cannot continue. Call it out. Enough is enough. And no means no. Now, I want to talk about men and boys. And it's fair to acknowledge that being a man does come with a certain amount of power and strength. What I don't want us to do is connect being male with being violent. Men don't have to be violent against women and girls. So how does change start? I'm asking you, as a parent, a carer, a bystander, or as a member of the community, to do more, to challenge it, to call it out, call for help. We need to educate young boys from an early age. We need to show them how to deal with their emotions, their personal difficulties, for them not to suppress emotions or feel emotionally stunted. Because they do. And I talk about the saying, man up. You'll have all heard the saying, man up. So you come across a little boy out in the community or at school, even at home, that hurts themselves physically or emotionally. And what do people say? Boys don't cry. Don't be a girl. Hide your emotion and man up. And then we wonder why we have an issue with male suicide and depression and lots of other personal difficulties that they can't overcome because they're taught to suppress their emotions. We need to educate boys on how to show emotions, but without being violent. We also need to educate our girls. We need to empower them to say no, to feel comfortable to say no. We need to educate everybody on healthy relationships, on consent and on boundaries. So what I'd like you to really take away from today is I want us to educate and empower children, young boys, young girls, and I want them to grow, and I want us all to be proud on children that we are going to see grow into adulthood, members of the community that we're going to be proud to see, proud to sit next to. So I want you to help by educating boys and young men on consent, healthy relationships and boundaries. I want you all to help empower girls and women to say no. I do want you to challenge it. When women are objectified or sexually harassed, challenge it, call it out or call for help. I also want you all to recognise that our wariness of men is not personal. And thank you to the good men that are out there doing what they can to help women walk through the world without fear. We know it's not all men. We just don't know which men. Please stand with us and say no more. Thank you.